Hello, I'm Debanjan Chakravarti and I'm in conversation with Professor Adrian Holliday of Canterbury Christ Church University, UK. Welcome, Adrian.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for giving us the time to talk to us. Adrian, what do you think are the benefits of a conference like this?
The benefits are absolutely huge. I go to a lot of conferences all over the world, and I think this is a particularly rich one because somehow it's been achieved to bring a huge number of practicing teachers and researchers here. And there's certainly a very powerful buzz of discussion going on, which is very, very nice indeed. Yeah.
The theme of this year's conference is diversity in teacher education, in English language teacher education. Does that resonate with you in your own professional context?
Yes, it does, because something that I am particularly interested in my own research and my own writing is the complexity of cultural scenarios, and that's all to do with diversity. And I think a really important part of that is getting down to the detail of what's going on between people. And you can sense that sort of detail when you meet people in conferences like this.
What do you think are particular challenges of conference like this? How do conferences relate to practice?
Well, I think this is really down to the responsibility of individual delegates. They have to be able to make the connections and relate them back to their own practice. Obviously, the design of the conference, who the speakers are, what sort of issues are addressed, are very important. But the delegates themselves have to make the effort, and I think I see a huge evidence of that in this particular conference.
Right. Are there any particular sessions that stand out in your memory from this particular conference?
Well, if you're someone like me and you're coming from a distant place and you're lucky enough to be given the second day to give your plenary speech, then you can spend a day doing some research to find out what the issues are. And I made it my business to go to sessions which connected particularly with what I wanted to talk about. And I was able to get some sort of insight into what is going on and what is important to people. Also, it's necessary for me to speak to other academics, and I was very lucky to be able to spend some time with some of the people at the EFL University and see what they think about things. But when you're walking around and between sessions, conversations. I sat down in one of the areas near where the sessions were going on. I found myself with a group of young people. I asked them politely if I could talk to them, and we talked for half an hour, and it was really interesting to see what they had to say. So it's not just the sessions, it's the informal contact as well. And I think sometimes people rush too much between sessions and don't spend enough time talking to each other outside sessions. Yeah.
What are the well, we've spoken about some of the challenges of organizing a massive conference like this with other speakers and delegates. What do you think are those challenges? I mean, have you faced any?
Well, I do have some history of organising conferences.
Yes.
I worked in Egypt in the late 80s, and my job was to organise the big conference that we ran there. And there's a huge amount of organisation going on behind the scenes. But conferences take on a life of their own. And once the people arrive, it's amazing how things just begin to happen by themselves.
Right.
And that's really important. But the logistics of getting people from place to place And clearly there are buses coming backwards and forwards, and perhaps they don't always arrive exactly when they should. And But for the organisers, it is a huge task. But I was just talking to some of the helpers, and I said, "So what are the issues? What's going on?" I said, "No issues. It's all working perfectly."
Right. Yeah.
So I thought that was great.
Yeah. Adrian, I don't know whether you've had the time to reflect on what could be the possible theme or themes of subsequent conferences of
You
teacher
mean
educators conference? Yeah, this particular conference. We're just trying to
Yes.
sound out
Yes.
speakers about what themes we could consider for the coming year.
Well, it's difficult for me to say, but I think there is clearly an issue around the problems that working teachers have in juggling the institutional
I
requirements.
really like the phrase "working teachers."
Yes.
There are teachers who don't work.
Well, I'm not implying there are teachers who don't work, but I mean teachers at work.
Right.
The day-to-day management of timetables and examinations and grades and rushing from class to class, and in the middle of all of that, having also to deal with these big issues like communication and culture and all that sort of thing. And this is very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I think that people like me can come along, and even people at the EFL University who are very close to the context, they can come along and they can talk very nicely about the big principles, which are very important. But it's difficult for teachers to actually apply these things because they're trying to get through the day.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's important. And why not have a conference which looks in some detail at the ethnographic realities of day-to-day school life? That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
And there must be people who've done research.
Right.
And of course, one of the issues with English language teaching is it doesn't always connect with education. And you often find that there is research going on in education to do with these things, but might not be connecting. So let's get some educational ethnographers along to see what they have to say about school life.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting suggestion, Adrian.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you for talking to us about these issues that sort of you deal with.
Okay.
Thanks so much for your time.
Okay,
Thanks.
good.